to the Learning at Sitecore Roundtable. We're working on proliferating out that's our name, that's our brand. We are Learning at Sitecore, right? We've got folks on this panel that are on the content development side. We've got folks on this panel that are on the administrative side, and we've also got our developer advocate on the panel. Let's go through and introduce ourselves so that we have a feel for who is whom, and we can kind of get started from there. We've got some announcements, we've got some information to share, and then we really, really love feedback. So I hope that you came prepared to talk back to us. So since I'm already talking, because I'm just like, I have no problems, I'll just pick up the mic. I'll get started. My name is Evelyn Sullivan. I'm the manager of our learner success and support team for Knowledge and Learning. What that means is that if you have put in a ticket, I have probably put eyeballs on it. That also means that I'm the person who leads our strategy for our Learning at Sitecore website, and all of the improvements that we have going on there, and anything that directly involves your experience with Learning at Sitecore from an administration side after your purchase. Let's go ahead and start to my left, and let's work around the table.
Yeah, okay. I'm Daria Bogdanova. I'm a technical trainer, and mainly I now specialize in Content Hub and soon Order Cloud. I work in Europe, so whenever you book a training for Content Hub in the European time zone, that will be me. I work with instructor-led training courses, so it's not, it's basically face-to-face. Now, of course, it's online, but still I work with live audience. So if you have any questions about instructor-led training or about Content Hub training and overall development, because also I participate in development of the content for the Content Hub, the entire Content Hub course, and also the exams. Yeah, please, you are welcome to ask me questions.
Sure. My name is Jessamine Evans. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, so I'm USA based. I recently was one of the senior learning experience designers that wrote e-learning training, and I recently just shifted to the ILT side, so I am now a senior technical instructional designer. So I will be helping with creating the instructor-led training and also be teaching WEM courses wherever I'm needed and wherever I'm capable of doing so. But you probably have heard my voice if you've taken any of our e-learning in the dev content or in the old commerce content from Commerce 9, because I did a lot of the videos in that content. But mostly I focus in the dev, JavaScript focus areas.
It's on. I'm Andrew Owen. I'm a developer advocate with Learning at Sitecore, and my role, it's sort of the easiest way to describe it is my role is to represent developers to the company and represent the company to developers. But obviously within learning, there's a special focus on education and learning the product. And I'll be happy to answer any developer questions.
My name is Deanna Hodali. I am the operations manager on KNL, on the Knowledge and Learning team. And I handle like all of our education sales. I work with our sales teams to make sure that customer and partner questions are answered. I work with scheduling instructor-led trainings. And you can pretty much contact me at globaltraining@sitecore.com. I'm usually the person who answers. So yeah, I'm more of the commercial side of our business.
So a couple of announcements about things that are going on for Learning at Sitecore. We're in the process, I don't know if you have checked our content out recently, but we're in the process of moving to a model that is more bite-sized, that is more modular. That's with the intent of kind of pulling us out of these massive courses that take a long time to get through, and where, you know, if you picked up a piece of information that was in the first single of the first album, you have to go all the way back through and reset your progress, and it just turns into kind of a self-administration nightmare. We're in the process of moving away from that and into something that is a little bit easier to self-serve. We are also in the process of developing a brand new Learning at Sitecore experience. We are in the process of migrating to a new learning management system. It's a big, exciting project that's going to open some doors for us to have different functionality for you. As we start to iterate, as we start to phase, we're looking at the ways that we're going to be pulling in content from other departments, from other teams, from other folks, right? So that way it's not just our voices all the time, but that you're also able to come to us kind of as a one-stop shop, right? And get where you need to be, right? The developer portal as a place to find resources, learning at Sitecore as a place to find knowledge growth. So we're in the process of moving towards that as well. Another thing that was discussed today during the first talk of the day is that we do have SUGCON discounts running. They're valid until the end of June. The discount code is literally just SUGCON_22, like SUGCON22. And that's 25% off of your certifications and then 10% off of our new subscriptions. Our subscriptions are also newish. And they're bundling our e-learning with at least one ILT, right? Right now, the subscription that's available is all of our e-learning bundled with like WEM, with Web Experience Management. Whenever we move onto the new platform, that's also going to give us the ability to let you choose your ILT, right? Choose your own adventure. So if you're not already getting a discount, like a partner discount or an MVP discount to have free content, right? This is a way to have a better, more economical option to get a hold of learning at Sitecore content in addition to the stuff that's free. So those are like the big updates, right? As far as things that are coming up on the roadmap, we're in the process of developing an instructor-led training for things like Sitecore 10, both fundamental and advanced. And we're in the process of going through and reevaluating and correcting or updating some of the other content that we've got, right, that we hear a lot of feedback about. But that's a lot of talky, and this is like a talky-backy, right? So we would really love to hear if you've got questions for us, if there's anything that any feedback that you want to give us, right? We are here. We are open books. Please let us know. Would anybody like to start? Here's the hard, cold start.
If no one else wants?
My name is Helen. I'm based in Switzerland, and I hire project managers on the agency side. So what we're doing is we're not necessarily hiring marketers. We're just hiring project managers that come from tech. What would be the best stack of courses to take for people like that?
I can take this one if you want. Here. If you're looking for straight, like business user, end user, someone who's just going to be using Sitecore but not diving into like the development content or coding or any of the back end, I would start with something like WEM, Web Experience Management, because that's going to get you into the platform from just a basic standpoint to kind of work your way around. Now, of course, where we're moving to Composable DXP, we've got a lot more options now than just the standard Sitecore XP platform. So there are other content areas that you could probably look into. Did you have it?
Also it's important to know whether in the projects, in the future project, they will be using digital asset management system. So the Content Hub, if there is some prospective use of Content Hub, then you probably would like to take the admin track of Content Hub Professional and Content Hub Enterprise training. We are now moving towards shorter courses, but that would be also a good track to take for the Instructor-Led Training. And also with the Professional Content Hub training, e-learning is included. So you can also take the e-learning fundamentals. It's a really big course, it's fresh, so it's quite interesting also to follow. And then after that, as you complete that one, you can follow also the Instructor-Led Training.
We have a very diverse Sitecore landscape. We have some customers that still use Sitecore 7, I believe. Some of them are already heading towards 10, so it's hard to get No worries. It's hard to get an overview or to provide an overview because we also shift our project managers between the projects. So I'm looking for more efficient ways to train them than just give them an overview.
Makes sense. Web experience management will give you that kind of base. While we don't have any content back towards 6, I think we do have content that's, I think, at least 8 up. And I know we're working mostly, the current content is going to be in 10, but that would be a good place to start if you're looking for more traditional Sitecore XP, Sitecore XM.
I mean, if it's any consolation, I did kick the table pretty hard. It did hurt. So I know that with some of our trainings at Sitecore, there's a certification. And then with some, there's a certificate of completion. And I see a lot of confusion, mostly on like LinkedIn, when people get a certificate of completion. They're like, I'm certified. And it's like, I'm not sure. Could someone expand on sort of the difference between a certification versus a certificate of completion?
Okay. Certificate of completion essentially means kind of the same as if you completed something on LinkedIn Learning. You've made your way through the content, you've reached the end of the available content in either an album or however it was organized at the time of release, or a module series, whereas a certification is going to be directly associated to an exam. You have to have taken an exam with Sitecore, CDP, Dev, to be able to get a actual certification, because that's our stamp of approval saying that you know the content well enough to be able to do something specific in your position.
And to add a little bit to that, the certifications are an exam. They are specifically a proctored exam. They are specifically a proctored exam that is viewed as your ticket to ServiceNow. It is viewed as your ticket to getting support, right? There is space for that to change as we start moving into SaaS, right? But especially for on-prem products, your certification has been your way to get access to put in support cases that are more than just like, oh, hey, I need help to register for my Learning at Sitecore content. We're one of, I think, 2 different groups, maybe 1, that doesn't require a login, right, with a certification attached. So functionally, right, it's what is that access, right? And it also is a way to, right, and it's a way to vet, right? It's also a requirement for partner enablement, right? It's part of partner tiering. And that's where we see a lot of our certifications pull in, right, is with partner tiering.
If I'm allowed, I would.
Of course.
I've got 2 points. First thing, I experienced, I'm a developer, and I experienced that the certifications get harder, and I really like that, because format was like, yeah, you have to learn a little bit and read a little bit, but the people didn't understand really how the things work out, and they just said, yeah, I've got my certification, yeah, but you don't have any clue how the content is structured in Sitecore, you know? And I really like that. And second part I really like is that we as MVPs and also other people have the chance to give feedback and beta test the things. And there's one thing I really want to feedback you. I already told you, as a non-native English speaker, it's quite hard to get sometimes the context of the questions. And therefore, it would be good if you could have an eye on having feedback from non-native speakers. Mm-hmm. Because I experienced that, and Daria perhaps will know. We talked about that. Yeah. I didn't pass the first try Content Hub administrator training because I was not able to get the real question right. And we both talked about it, and she explained it to me, and I was like, oh yeah, sure. Damn it. So yeah, this would be my feedback.
I will
Sorry
say,
for.
yeah, no worries. About our certification exams, and I remember speaking with you earlier about this as well. We've added over the last couple of years a bit more of a robust process to building our certification exams. We're trying to get a bit more of a perspective into the content so we know exactly what to test against, which is why the exams are going to get harder. But at the same time, we do need feedback like that, because right now we only offer translations into Japanese. So we have English and we have Japanese. So knowing what terminology or even just what words we're using that are not translatable or not translating clearly into English for non-native English speakers, that helps us know. So getting that kind of feedback definitely is helpful. So if you're in our beta pool, that's the kind of feedback we'd love to hear on this doesn't make sense to a non-native English speaker. Even though it's clear to an English speaker, having that feedback's helpful.
I would add to that it's our content development team, right? For full transparency, our content development team is very US centric. We are almost like our LEDs are exclusively in the United States, and predominantly coming from an academic background, right? And that has its own bias. We recognize that is a bias, and it's something that we are figuring out how to ask the questions about whenever we ask for feedback. So if y'all have suggestions for ways that we could better ask the question to say, is there any of this that is not landing the way that we intend, right? We've tried to kind of tweak the language in our surveys. We've tried to tweak the feedback mechanism, but it still isn't getting us over that hump. It still isn't getting us into a space where we're really able to see past our own bias in content development. And we're trying to work through that with the limitation of being in a team that is in the US, right? So I think, do y'all have any suggestions or any feedback on ways that we can better ask that question and be better engaged with that? That's an active question.
Well, I can say a few words. I'm newcomer in Sitecore area. I started in Merkle a few months ago, even though I'm not so young, but I'm young in Sitecore. So I have some suggestions related to your content. Probably I didn't remember the course name, but I think it's about clothing company. You know that?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the dev content.
Yeah.
I know exactly which content you're talking about.
One
Yes.
of the official courses.
Yes.
Me and my two colleagues, also newcomers, we were completely lost, to be honest, because I am oldest one, so I managed to go to that course to the end, and let's say build my Sitecore instance with everything in there. But you have a lot of competitors in the world. First of all, it's YouTube.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, to be honest, I learned more from your YouTube than from official Sitecore area. And also I knew Daria from LinkedIn. I saw her small presentation about Content Hub entities, and it was really, really awesome. I never seen something like that in terms of technology. It's not just about Content Hub, it's about technology. So these kind of relationships between entities in Content Hubs are very nice described. So I'm big fan of Content Hub, even though I wouldn't work with the Content Hub at all. But we will see. I'm new in this area, so maybe I will have some projects in the future. So my questions for all of you: is it possible for me, from us, to prepare me some kind of recipe for, let's say, next 6 months to go through that learning process easily.
May I?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that first of all, which are the technologies that you are aiming for?
I'm it's Sitecore 9 and 10.
Okay.
Old-fashioned Sitecore with on-prem.
Okay.
Okay. That helps.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that regarding the particular courses that we have, that I think that would be better to ask from you. But the approach itself, how I would approach it if I were you. Of course, official courses, especially if I don't know if your company is a partner or So then it means that you have. Yeah. Perfect. So. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So I would, of course, e-learning might be challenging, but what is really building on top of it is the instructor-led training, and instructor-led training for sure should be less challenging because you can ask questions right away from the instructor, and there is a lot of hands-on experience there. You have your own.
I have to get my certification until end of.
Yep.
So it's concrete stuff.
Yeah. So it means that.
In XP 10, I'm still learning these algorithms. So
Yeah, so I would recommend to, after you finalize your e-learning, just to go for the instructor-led training. I think, Jessamine we can recommend which kind of. On top of that, the Slack channel of Sitecore and the Sitecore chat that we have is a great source of information. So any questions that you...
I don't remember everything you said.
You can, yeah, sure, definitely.
Yeah, I would say that reaching out is always welcome. Never be afraid to reach out. In learning, we always have this comment that there's never a dumb question. Never.
I love a question ticket.
Yes.
I love a question ticket.
Evelyn gets excited about
Okay,
questions.
no, it's better than this is broken and I can't check out. Right?
Question tickets are helpful. But as for learning dev-related content, I would say that, yes, the 9.3 training that has that really awkward clothing company, I'm aware of its issues. I'm actually in the process of rewriting it once I get back to the US to be more simplistic and easier to follow.
Probably you get some sort of requirements for that training.
Yeah.
I think it's not just your opinion, but probably you get some influence from your bosses, etc.
Yeah. So we work with generally we work with not the partners, but the product teams in Sitecore to build our training, which sometimes leaves us in a little bit of a content gap because we don't know how you're going to use the product. They can tell us how the product was designed and how it was intended to be used, so we can write the training to that material, but then we lack the actual practical application of it. But for learning Sitecore, I would agree that going to ILT after finishing the e-learning material that's available to you is probably your next step. We are looking to launch, I think you mentioned, our Sitecore 10 developer training, both of basic and advanced, within the next few months before the end of the fiscal year. So that will be available, and that one I would definitely recommend for you to take one as soon as it's available. As for picking up the other products of Sitecore, we did release some new content around things like CDP, Content Hub, Order Cloud. Those are constantly getting like e-learning modules that we're putting out, and that's part of some of our updated processes on the e-learning side. We are trying to go for a more rapid production process so that the turnaround's a lot faster. We're releasing content on a monthly basis instead of having to wait 6-7 months for us to release content. So there's constantly being more material added. Of course, this is in the paid subscription, but if you have full access, then obviously you have access to it. We did just release some JavaScript training. So there is some on the Sitecore JavaScript rendering SDKs. For Next.js, we did focus on that per the direction of the product team. They recommended that's what we primarily write to, because even though it can be generalized, JavaScript can go in any direction. So yeah, that would be my recommendation, to get you where you need to be. But if you ever have any questions about the content or it's difficult to understand, please let us know. That helps us. And as I said, we got a lot of work ahead of us to fix the 9 content, but that's in the works as well.
I'm going to use this as an opportunity for a plug. There are surveys at the end of our courses. We actively read every survey response. We actively want to hear feedback. If you feel like the space that is in the survey is not sufficient for your feedback, please send us a ticket. If there is a feedback ticket that comes through, it comes to me or it comes to one of the people on my team. We actively read it, right? There is a name behind the person who's going to read your ticket. Here's my face. You're just talking to me whenever you type. And we want to have that conversation, right? So I'm hearing you say that you struggled with the content in the training, right? I would...
That platform is really,
Mm-hmm.
it's really very, very, I think, very bad written. You cannot, for instance, you don't have your progress at all. Something really, I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes, but that is one problem. Another problem is these solution files.
Yes.
Which you need to
Oh, yes.
download. And I think, I know, because I'm also sort of kind of teacher, because I did a lot of courses before. This is really about your attitude, about your approach. What are you going to do, and what are you expecting from students? So I think YouTube actually gave us very, very simple approach. I'm going to teach you short lessons with demonstration. You are stupid, you don't know anything, just look at me. And this is really only good thing. It's very difficult to serve one content which is let's say responsible for teaching you and also giving or expecting some feedback from you. It's very difficult to pack this thing in one course, which is actually that plotting company. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But we get that link from our boss, and she said, "Please try to learn this." We were really.
I will say, like, our production cycles for the content are a little bit different than those that produce for the YouTube channel. I do speak with them, and I use their content as well when writing our own content, because we have so many checks and balances on our back end to make sure that the information we're putting out there is correct per the product team. And so we sometimes run that risk of being a little long-winded, as you say, because like obviously you can go out to YouTube and find like a 7-minute video that covers just exactly what you're looking for, which is what the aim is now of our new, more modular section, is we're trying to get into more bite-sized chunks of you just need to know about this. So you can go just learn about this. Or if you want to learn about the entire set of content, it's here together, so you know where to find it.
For instance, that solution which I mentioned before, that solution has many very advanced features like referencing other DLLs, etc. But
yeah,
we haven't seen that very deeply.
Yeah.
So I just noticed that actually maybe 6th day after I started, it's not so obvious.
Yeah. It is, and it wasn't obvious to us either when we were writing it, so don't feel bad.
Yeah.
They didn't inform us of it until later. We were like, oh, that's why it's not working correctly now. So yeah, we are aware.
If it was like we can see like in YouTube what you did,
Yeah.
then it's transparent, But this way, I had a lot of issues.
I also want to acknowledge and speak to a piece of what you said about the platform and the experience on the platform. because that is something that also is important to us, and not just because that's my baby, right? Like, this is the platform. We're currently on a platform that was inherited, and we get to move to a platform that's more of what we want, right? And that's more of what we're really gearing our content and our experience towards. And the concerns that you raised about not being able to track your progress, right? And it not being really an intuitive platform to use, things like that. Those were actively top of mind whenever we were doing product selection for our new management system. So those are pieces that we're actively working to correct, right? Like literally right now. I have a meeting about it like in a couple of hours for us to talk about what the next piece is going to look like for setting things up. So I want to acknowledge that it is not an ideal learner experience right now, and also commit that it is something that we are aware of and that we are actively working to resolve.
So maybe one question that leads me from what you are saying is, would be interesting to hear what is maybe your quality assurance process. I mean, I hear it already, MVPs will review it, right? But do you also have, I don't know, do you have people running through the course to actually try to learn it? Like, I don't know, people who didn't know before, right? MVPs usually know, and then they read through it and maybe it looks good or provide the feedback, but do it with the actual target group of people who don't know. I'm not sure if that is part, or if there are other approaches to cover that.
I would say we don't have that pool of people to pull from. I don't know if it's something we can actually build into it as an option, but we found when we made it more of a closed beta, where when we take our material and we post it out there and we made it a closed beta, we found that took a lot longer to get it to our audience, because that audience, we would have to like continuously follow up and go, can you please give us feedback? How did you think of that? Like, oh, well, I didn't get a chance to look at it. Let me look at it this weekend. And I'm like, well, we need to close beta. We need to move on. So it just drug out the process. And I will say our team is still technically young. We're only a couple of years old, group of people that are working on this material. So it's been kind of a trial and error. And you can honestly see that in some of our e-learning training. It's been a bit of a trial and error. We're getting to that more consistent sweet spot that we're looking for. And having that focus group of individuals that are new, that's a little bit harder to target than it is the people who are a bit more experienced and defined. Because once you teach them once, now they're no longer new, and now we got to go find somebody else. Whereas an MVP pool, we can generally go, here's this new content. Could you please look it over? Here's this other new content, or here's the revised content. Can you look it over? But I know that I'm learning about what the ILTs go through in the process of vetting those. But for e-learning, we don't have that pool, although it is a good suggestion, and I will definitely take it back. Yeah, once you learn, it's really hard you can't really be new to it again, so we have to find someone else.
Yeah, if it helps, actually for some of the content, I think for most of the content, we would always have somebody from another part of our department reviewing it, because we learn, we just work together, different parts of our department, and I personally don't know many of the parts of the content that Jessamine would be working on or somebody else will be working on, and sometimes I have the other parts of the team asking for feedback. So, and I think that happens throughout the department. So that I think is as close to what you have suggested as possible, because we did not know about this content before. So yeah.
Jessamine referenced our historic closed betas. Our betas are now open.
Yes.
Our betas are open, and we are looking for different ways to announce that there is new beta content. Same drum, still going to bang on it. Platform limitations.
We are limited by the platform.
Y'all. This platform. Just transparency. So those are the things that, again, are top of mind. We know that that's not a great experience. We know that the beta experience, it's not super obvious whenever new content is hitting if you're not an MVP and getting that update, right? And so some of the things that we're looking at, right, is like we've opened up beta. Great. We're making sure that we're flagging new content as being in beta, right? We have minimum feedback requirements for beta, right? That typically mean that we're pulling content out of beta within a couple of weeks because we've hit the minimum threshold requirement for our feedback, right? But, right? To your point, that's not fully addressing the folks that we need to see. So how do we get that content across? How do we make that more visible? And those are conversations that we're having regularly.
And we want to come to more events like this where we can speak with you on these types of issues and understand like what it is that you want out of our learning. And while we're just a small team that's here, we represent, 13 instructional designers writing content, 6 or 7 trainers?
7.
Yeah, 7 trainers that are not only developing content, but also teaching it. We've got a team of LS&S, or learner support and services. So, S's, all the S's. I am really tired. I really apologize. But we've got an entire team here that we're taking feedback to. So we definitely will want to hear it. And I think we want to come to more events like this and get that information from you, because you're the voice out there. You're talking to the customers. You're speaking and deploying this material. So we need to know, what do you need to know? What do you need to know to do your job right, so that we can do our job to get you that information? Because sometimes we're, as I said, stuck in a silo talking to just product. And they're like, here's how we designed it. Here's how it should be used. You go and you look on Slack, or you go and look on GitHub, and they're like, nah, this is how it really is used. And you're like, oh, I see now. Whole new world. So.
Maybe just one thing comes to my mind. It's not about quality assurance, but gathering feedback. So as Sitecore is ramping up a lot, or like growing constantly with people joining, right? I believe they are all going through some onboarding process, which includes exactly those trainings. So I could imagine that, take the training, but also connect and give feedback to directly address that. Because, I was onboarded 3 years ago, and I wasn't pointed to your department.
It didn't exist 3 years ago.
Okay, but there must have been someone creating those trainings, right? So
I was hired 3 years ago, and I am the last of the original team. So.
No, but I'm saying there was a training, so probably someone created it. So probably there was a department, and maybe they were also interested in feedback. Not sure.
Not really.
They weren't. Okay.
Yeah, it has grown, and we've come more concise. We were brought back together. From how I understand what the trainers went through is that these trainers were in different departments around Sitecore originally, and they kind of got shuffled into this training department a few years back when we first started up this endeavor to really bring you learning at Sitecore, and that was about a 3-year-old project. But yeah, we've pulled them from sales, we've pulled them from dev advocates and things of that nature to be this team, and now we're growing. So yeah, it has been a long road, and we do like to offer some more content for you.
So this is not a learning specific question, but I always like to know, what is one thing, if you could tell anybody one thing about your job, like one thing that they could do that would improve their experience, what would that one thing be?
Read the study guide before you take the certification.
And it really helps.
All of the competencies are listed in the study guide. It's all there.
With links to the documentation.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And let us know if you find broken links to documentation, because they move stuff on us constantly.
Yes.
We are constantly hunting for our correct documentation. Go.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. To be honest, I'm so happy with my trainees that yeah. Okay. Read the prerequisites. That's the good thing. Read the prerequisites when you take the ILT, the instructor-led training, because sometimes I get people who don't know C# when they come to the dev training, and that's a little bit complex when we talk about it. Yeah, so that would help.
I'm gonna have to think on this. Ask them.
Yeah, honestly, I get a lot of questions about navigating our website, and I think that it's very important to actually read what's written on the screen before continuing to search for information, because we have everything listed. As Daria mentioned, the prerequisites are all there. Maybe the ILT sessions and prices and everything. So our LMS right now is actually very, very informative. So I think that everyone should just take time to read through that, because there's a lot of helpful and useful information there.
I don't have any specific answer to that question, but as the developer advocate on the team, I mean, for any of you, whether you're developers or not, I am somebody you can contact directly. My details are out there. I'm at AO in Sitecore on pretty much every social platform. So you can DM me, you can email me, andrew.owen@sitecore.com. Just to quickly speak to some previous points, my background is technical writing, and I'm very aware of English as a second language audiences. So whenever I get the chance, I'm feeding that back in. But I'm here representing that for you, and also it's available. Talk to me. Come and see me afterwards. Find me at the conference. I'm going to try and get to as many of these as I can, because it's a dialogue. So engage with us, and because we're here for you.
I've got a mic anyway. I think for me and my team that I'm coming from, know that we're learning too. We don't have constant access to our subject matter experts, so we have to learn it too before we write it, and we make mistakes. And we do our best that we can, but sometimes those mistakes make it out. They don't get caught because, as you said, the MVPs look it over and go, "Oh yeah, it looks fine." Turns out, no, it wasn't. So yes, we're learning too. I've had to learn. I do have a computer science background, but I didn't know C# before I started. I didn't know JavaScript before I started. And I've had crash courses in both of those over the last 3 years. But we are learning, and we want to learn from you.
I think we have time for one more question or comment, if anybody has anything. Yeah, please.
You asked about how we can improve the certification of that. We have an idea, maybe, but like you said, we can set up those exams also. So not only these that are new persons, new to Sitecore, if they understand the question or the answer. Sometimes it's I'm just looking at the English perspective. It's you understand the question and you have the knowledge of Sitecore, but you can answer it if they ask you in person. But in the multiple choices, you can find the perfectly good answer, or you are just in between these two correct answers to you because you are not native. So maybe that would be also an example. Because it's also stressful to take the certification.
It's stressful enough. We shouldn't add to
Right?
to
that anxiety.
goals to reduce the level of barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Right? So I appreciate that.
We do want the exams to be challenging from the knowledge standpoint, not from the legibility standpoint. We want you to be able to understand the questions and the answers. But definitely, we do want to challenge you on your knowledge of the content, not the questions. Like, not do you understand the question? It's do you know the answer? So yeah, we would love to see that improved. So thank you for bringing that up.
So we're getting the signal that it's time. Final plugs. There is a Subcon discount. Come see me for your discount code if you need it. Also, please keep an eye out for announcements about new Learning at Sitecore experiences, about new Learning at Sitecore content. As we've said, we're growing, we're changing. Things are exciting. It's an exciting time to be in Learning at Sitecore. And we really love your feedback. We love a feedback ticket. Please send it to us.
The only thing I would add to Evelyn's statement is we do release content on a regular basis now. Every third Thursday there's new content that we are trying to get out every month. There might be a lull in it as we're switching LMSs, as we switch from one learning management system to this other, as we do this changeover. It might be a little bit of a lull.
That
but
just means you get a lot of really new stuff on the
kind
new
of
platform.
Because we just released 25 new pieces of content this month in March. So there'll be a mild lull. And then more. Yes, it was hard work getting that 25 out, but we got it there. So every third Thursday. Thursday of the month, yes. And it'll show up as beta for 2 weeks. And once we hit that feedback threshold, we'll take it out of beta. But that doesn't mean we don't want your comments and we don't want your feedback. Just because it doesn't say beta, send us your feedback.
Caveat, every third Thursday in a U.S. time zone, so
Yeah.
log on Friday morning.
It'll be like Friday, yeah. If you're trying to do it in the middle of the day on Thursday, then you'll find that it's kind of going crazy and you might lose your progress immediately because we're re-updating. It takes a few hours. So if you try accessing it in the middle of those few hours, you'll see it jump.
Thank you for
Thank
giving
you
us
for
part of
coming.
your day.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate it.
We do.